Hi friends, welcome to this tutorial. Please ignore the way the video is going to change after a minute plus. We are cutting the skirt first. I'm taking out the waistband to get the full length of the skirt. My full length is 19 inches plus sewing allowance. I times my waist measurement by 4 to get this long strap. So this is the lining I'm making use of. I used my hip measurement to get my lining. I can't use my waist because it's going to be an issue. It won't pass through. So the main fabric is longer by 3 inches. So like I said, I used my hip measurement to get my lining. I didn't use my waist measurement. I used my hip. So this is all for the skirt. Now we are cutting the top. This is my shoulder measurement divided by 2 plus ½ inch joining with the sleeve. I'm getting my chest line, my half length, and my hip line, then 2 inches sewing allowance. I'm connecting the lines. Whatever I got from the shoulder, I took it down to the chest line. This will serve as our armhole line. I'm connecting the lines now. The line. The neckline I'm making use of is 3 inches. This is the back we are cutting, okay? And the neck depth is 1 inch. After cutting the back, we'll now cut the front. We are cutting the back first because the back doesn't have a zipper allowance. I'm going down by ½ inch, connecting it to meet with the shoulder to the neckline. I want to get the midpoint of this armhole. I'm connecting my armhole like so. I'll take my bust measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches sewing allowance. My waist divided by 4, 1 inch for that, and 2 inches sewing allowance. I'm connecting the line. I'm getting my hip measurement here. Hip divided by 4 plus 2 inches seam allowance. I'll connect it with my curve ruler. In order to eliminate the pointed edge, I'm going in by 5 inches like so. And I'll come up by ½ inch. I'll use my curved ruler to eliminate the pointed edge like so. It's time for us to cut out. Like I said, this is the back piece. So the back piece is ready. We are going to use it to cut the front, to trace the front, alright? Instead of drafting it again, I'm going to use it to trace the front like so. The front has zipper allowance. This is a 2 inch zipper allowance. I'm going to cut it like so. I want to mark here. This will serve as a guide. And I want to also mark my zipper allowance using the back piece to trace it right like so with my ruler. I'm going to take the back piece, keep it aside, and work on the front piece. I want to get my neck depth. Please make use of 3.5 inches for your neck depth. I'm going to connect it like so. Remember, we are cutting also through the zipper allowance. I said make use of 3.5 inches because we're going to add a collar to this. And you wouldn't want it to be choking you. So I measured from 1 to 18 inches from the shoulder in order to get the front slit. You know, the front part of this dress, this top has a slit. So I'm going in by 2 inches from that zipper allowance line. I'll connect it like so. If you want yours to be more than 2 inches, you can do that, but 2 inches is okay for me. I'll cover it this way. From here, that is where I will start cutting. I want to get my chest line. I'll use my tape to measure exactly where my chest line is because I want to work on the armhole. You know, we use the back armhole to cut this front armhole, so we need to work on the front armhole. So I'm going to place my tape like so and also get the midpoint of this armhole so I can be able to go in by 1/2 inch. I'm going to connect it like so. It's time for us to cut out. So we're cutting out the 1/2 inch we went in by. It's now time for us to cut the slit. I also added 1/2 inch for sewing. That's what made it 18 inches, okay? You know, you don't want to sew exactly at your normal measurement. You need to add 1/2 inch where you used to turn it with the lining. So I'm cutting like so. You can measure from your shoulder, check where you want your slit to begin. It could be at your belly button or below it, above it, depending on how you want it. I want mine to be at the belly button. Now it's for us to cut our sleeve. Remember, I split it open like so because the front piece, it's going to be 2 pieces. Just the way we usually do our back piece, okay? The sleeve, I'm going to cut the 2 sleeves at the same time. That is why I'm folding it like so. If you want to cut it one, you don't need to fold it 4 times. Like 2 times as giving us 4 pieces on fold. Now I'm getting the length of my sleeve plus hemming allowance. I'm going to roll it. I'm getting my wrist measurement plus 2 inches. 2 inches seam allowance. I'm coming down by 4 inches like so, and I'll connect the line. I'll get the midpoint of this line like so. And I'll also connect the line. With this, you'll be able to cut a perfect sleeve. And I will slant it like so with my ruler. At this point, I'm going up by 1/2 inch. I'm coming down by 1/2 inch. I'm not making use of the tip of my tape because that silver part it's gone off, so it's not giving me the normal 1/2 inch measurement, so that's why I ignore it whenever I want to get 1/2 inch. Now it's time for us to cut out like so. In order to get my biceps measurement, I'm measuring plus 1/2 inch, okay? 1/2 inch only with this sleeve, so I'm measuring 8 inches. I'm going to get my biceps measurements, which gave me 14 inches, plus 2 inches seam allowance. I'll use my ruler to connect it like so. At this point, I'm not going to make use of ruler. I'll just use my hand because the ruler will not give me the sleeve curve, okay? So I'm just going to use my hands free to curve it like so. I'll notch here. At that point, so this is our sleeve is ready, okay? It's time for us to cut out. I'm going to notch here. That's going to serve as the midpoint. This sleeve has an extension. I'm going to make use of a black piece fabric for the sleeve extension. I want it to pass my wrist. I want it to exceed it. So I got extension of 3 inches plus 1/2 inch joining with the one we just cut out, making it a total of 3.5 inches. If you look at the dress, you will see an extension there, but it's just that they made use of the same fabric. But I want to differentiate mine by adding a black fabric to it. So I'm using my sleeve to cut it out like so. And I'm going to cut 2 pieces of this, one for the right sleeve, the other for the left sleeve. So I got 2 pieces. So this I'm going to join it. Now it's for us, I want mine to have a waistband at the half length. So if you don't want it, you can just ignore it. I'm going to cut a waistband of about 18 inches. I use this to cut another one, so it's going to be two bands. And then we are going to cut out our skirt waistband. It's going to be 2.5 inches on forward. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces of this because I don't have a long strap of it. I'm going to join it when I'm sewing it. So this is it. So the next thing we are going to do is sewing of this dress. It's time for us to sew the dress. So we are starting with the skirt. This is the lining and this is the fabric. I want the fabric to face the lining. I'm going to sew at least 1.5 inches before I'll start pleating like so. So I'm going to pleat it this way, all the way down. I'm going to continue pleating. As you're pleating, I think the best thing you should do is to notch it first. Notch the fabric, notch the lining, so that as the notching is getting to the one on the lining, you will know how to reduce your pleating. If not, you're going to keep loosening it until you get the right pleating. So I want mine to be very full. That's why I cut out a lot of this long strap, the long Ankara fabric, so it can be very full. I'm going to continue pleating this way. Until I get to this point, and when I get to the last part of this long fabric, I'm going to leave like 2.5 inches again for zipper allowance. So this is it after pleating. I'm going to turn it over this way so you can see how it looks. So another thing we're going to do is to close the two sides this way. So close it like so. You sew by 1/2 inch all the way down. When you get to the bottom, the hemline, you're going to fold it in now this way, like so. So you just don't want the lining to be seen, okay? And that is why the Ankara fabric is longer than the lining. We want it to cover the lining. I also repeated the same thing on the other side. So this is what we've got. So what we're going to do is to notch the middle of this Ankara fabric and also notch the lining. Put each other like so. You can use your line and your pin to pin it down, or you can sew it down with your machine. After sewing it down, what we'll do next is to start pleating. You leave 1.5 inches for zipper allowance and then start pleating like so. This is how you're going to pleat until you get to that point you notched. Let's just assume we divided this fabric into two. One part and the other one is right, the other one is left. And let's also assume that we are pleating the right part of this Ankara. So you're going to pleat the right to make sure that the whole Ankara matches with the right part. Like, let it meet with this point you notched, like so. We don't want it to get bent, we don't want it to start bending after pleating. That's why we divided it into two. Let half feel the other part and let the other half feel the other part, so it doesn't bend. So we've got to the midpoint of it, and then it's time for us to start pleating the left part, like so. Like I said, we don't want it to bend after pleating. So when you get to the end of it, also leave 1.5 inches for zipper allowance, like so. Now, after pleating, this is what we've got. As you can see, the waist is still big because we used our hip measurement to cut the waist. So what you do is to measure your waist, add your zipper allowance, and then let's also pleat again to get our normal waist measurement. If we use our waist to cut the skirt, it will not pass through our hips. That is why we made use of the hip to cut the skirt. So what we'll do is just to pleat it like so. It's not going to show because the skirt is already has a pleating, okay? So it's not going to show. Just pleat and then give gap again and pleat until you get your skirt measurement plus. See, it's not showing. Until you get your skirt measurement plus your zipper allowance. After pleating, I've got my exact. skirt measurement plus zipper allowance. So what we're going to do is to minus the waistband in order to get where our zipper will begin from. So I'm making use of 9 inches. I'm going to mark it like so and then sew all the way down like so. You can use your pin to hold it down. I've sewn it. This is what I've got. So it's time for us to put the zipper. If you don't know how to put zipper to your clothes, I will add it to the comment section so that you can see how to do that. I've added the zipper to the skirt. This is how it looks. The next thing we're going to do is to add our waistband to it. I've also prepared my waistband, and if you don't know how to prepare your waistband and add it to your skirt, I'll also drop the link on how to do that in the comment section. You can go watch it on how you can prepare your waistband and also add it to your skirt. So I'm done fixing my waistband to my skirt. The skirt is all ready. It's time for us to start sewing the top. So for those who don't know how to turn lining, okay, if you want to turn your lining, I just want to show you guys, if you're a beginner, keep it this way. The lining will face the front side of the fabric. Put it like so. We are starting with the bottom first. And then make sure you bring out like ½ inch like so. When you bring it out, you start sewing by ½ inch. We are starting with the bottom. As you're sewing, make sure you maintain the ½ inch. After sewing, yeah, what next you do is turn it this way. This is the armhole side. We are not closing the armhole because it has a sleeve, so you make them to match each other like so, and then stitch down. When you get to this part, when you get to the bottom, you keep it this way so that the lining will go inside. The reason is we don't want the lining to show after sewing. I'll just do it and show you how it should be. As you're getting to the bottom, you keep it this way. So this is how it's meant to be, yeah? Like so. I'm not going to turn the neck of this cloth, okay? I'm not going to turn it because it's going to have a collar. Now, after ironing it, I'm going to just run a stitch by ½ inch like so and close it. After adding our zipper, then we can now put our collar. Well, first turn the whole lining and iron it. I've turned the waistbands with ½ inch, and then I'm going to keep it this way and then stitch it with ½ inch before turning it out. It's time for us to iron it and then add our dart. If you don't know how to add that to your clothes, I'll also drop the link in the comment section where you can watch and know how to do so. It's time for us to add the zipper to the front part of this top. I'm going to keep the zipper this way and then sew it all the way down. And after sewing it, I'm going to get the other part and attach it to it. Like I said earlier, if you don't know how to add zipper to your clothes, I've already made a tutorial on how to do that. So I've added the zipper. The front is getting ready. The front is ready, yeah. Now it's time for us to join the front and the back. Now it's time to add the waistband. I'm going to measure from my shoulder to my half length, which is 16 inches, and I'll put in the waistband like so. And you can use your pin to pin it down so it doesn't move. I'm going to put it this way, and then use my measurement to sew it all the way down, and I'll repeat the same thing on the other side. So I'm done doing that. This is what we've got. The top is getting ready gradually. It's time for us to join the shoulder. When stitching the shoulder, I left half inch for the back part. I'll use it to turn the front part like so. I use the front shoulder to meet with the back shoulder, and I use the lining of the back shoulder to turn it this way, as if you're sewing a sleeveless gown or top. So this is what we've got after sewing it. Our two shoulders are ready. This is the armhole. It's time for us to fix our sleeve. So I'm going to get the black pieces that I use for the extension, and I'll attach it to the sleeve this way. I'll sew it all the way down, and I'll do the same thing on the other sleeve. So I'll measure my wrist like so. I wanted to get to my wrist. I just want to show you how I did it. So whatever it gave me, I divided it by 2. That is what I used in closing it, closing the wrist side. After closing that wrist side, I measured my armhole, to run a straight stitch to meet it like so. I repeated the same thing on the other sleeve. Now it's time for us to fix the sleeve to the dress. Let the joining part meet with the joining part of this top, like the joining you made on the sleeve. Let it meet with the joining you made on the top. This is how I fix my sleeve, and it looks perfect. I have fixed the sleeve. I did the same thing on the other side. The sleeves are ready. Now time for us to work on the neckline. I'm taking this off, and when I was cutting the neckline, the collar, I didn't know I wasn't recording, so I just want to use my pattern paper to show you what I did. I measured my neckline like so. Whatever it gave me, I divided it by 2, added half inch sewing allowance. I folded my fabric into 2 like so. So I measured it and I cut it out like so. You have to watch closely of how I bent my hand cutting this collar. This is how you're going to cut it to meet with that measurement. I want to make use of 1 inch collar. You can make it of 1.5 depending on how you want it, plus sewing allowance. Please make use of 1 inch for sewing allowance, alright, so that you don't run short of the measurement. So this is what I did, like so. I measured it all the way to meet with this measurement, and I'm going to connect it this way. When I get to this point, I'm going to curve it this way so it will look like a bishop collar. So this is how you cut bishop collar. So I use it to cut another piece which will serve as a lining. So I have 2 pieces of this collar. And this is what I cut out, exactly what I showed you here. The one will serve as a lining, while the one that has the check will serve as the main collar. This is how it's looking. I'm going to use my iron to iron it properly, like so. I'll fold in 1/2 inch, like so. Please place something on your table before ironing. I think I was so lazy to do so. Yeah, this is the main collar, and it's time for me to iron the lining. So this is what we've got after ironing. You don't want to sew yours the way I want to sew mine. You can just sew this on your collar, on your neckline, like so. You can just bring out this 1/2 inch like so and attach it on your neckline. Then use the other one and cover it. But I don't want it that way. I just want to attach everything at the same time. That is why I'm going to sew with 1/2 inch like so, beginning from here. That is why I folded the two of them this way, and I want to start sewing it this way with 1/2 inch. When I get here, I'll need to curve it, follow that curve that I made when cutting it. So I'll continue to sew it this way, and then use my tape to measure it to know I don't exceed it. So mine is 17 inches plus the 1/2 inch sewing allowance. I'm going to sew all the way down. When I get to this point, I'm going to curve it this way again, gently. Then top stitch. It's time for us to turn it out, and I want to use my iron to press it down. After pressing it down, it's time for me to fix it. I will make sure that this neckline, the zipper, meets the end of that collar. Okay, push it inside. Okay, you need to push it inside and then start sewing. I'm going to start sewing all the way down, like so. Keep pushing it inside. So when I get to this point, I'm going to zip it up a bit. Just be careful so the zipper doesn't go off. I just want to make sure it rhymes with the other one I just sewn. Okay, just push it inside. Check if it's rhyming. If it's not, arrange it properly before sewing. Mine is rhyming. I think it's time for me to start sewing. I'll sew it down. Yeah, our top is ready. This is the beautiful color. Please, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, kindly subscribe, like, comment, and share. Thank you for watching. More tutorials will be dropping. Thank you for watching. See you in my next video.